All right, the second team, the last team, but before we get to the super chat, it's ironic we have a super chat from an Oregon fan here, but we're going to talk about the Oregon Ducks. Joel, a lot of changes, but then yet not really. I mean, like, there's still a lot of guys that are returning, that they still have some production coming back. Dante Moore looking to be the signal caller taking over at Oregon. When you go into the 2025 season, a way too early scenario for the Oregon Ducks, how do you see them playing out into the 2025 season?
One thing that I've discussed, and I'm coming back to it, I'm very high on what Dante Moore is going to do in this offense with Will Stein. I really think that you've got a more gifted talent, a less experienced player. Obviously, Dillon Gabriel was so good because he's seen so many bullets, but in this situation, you've got a more gifted athlete to play quarterback for you. I think that you can be aggressive and you can open up the field a lot more than what Dillon Gabriel was able to do. There's a lot that's being replaced. Tez Johnson, Gabriel, who I just mentioned, Trayshawn Holden, Jordan James, your starting running back, Josh Connerly and Johnny Cornelius, both your tackles, Derek Harmon, who's one of your best defensive tackles, Jordan Birch, who was one of your best defensive ends, your starting tight end, Terrence Ferguson. But where this is one of the few situations where I don't think that there should really be any concern of a drop-off. Now, there's gray area. There is hope that this works out. They have done such a good job of high school recruiting, and they did such a good job in the transfer portal that I think that they are setting themselves up to decrease any chance that they do take a step back. They brought in Isaiah World, who was a massive, enormous offensive tackle. They brought in Emmanuel Pregnon, the interior offensive lineman from USC, who was previously at Wyoming. Mekhi Hughes is a very talented running back, and Dylan Dynaman was one of the best portal players that they could have gone and got. The safety from Purdue, who is really gifted, hard hitter, good tackler. The biggest key is, what do they get out of the guys that they recruited out of high school? Elijah Rushing is somebody that needs to step up and replace Jordan Birch.
Yep.
Gatlin Bear, who is this freakish athlete out of the state of Idaho, who's a former 5-star. DeCorian Moore is also in the mix there for what we're talking about. There are premier 5-star guys on this team. How do they look as sophomores and juniors? How do they step up and how do they contribute? I'm going to keep saying that this entire offseason. There are a lot of ingredients to make a very good cake, but there's also a really good chance that they burn the shit out of it. There's so much that needs to go right, but there's a lot of room for error.
It's a lot of unknown, right? Like a lot of unknown. Dante Moore, I mean, the last time that we saw him, he had 8 passing attempts this year. You didn't see him at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time we saw him, he made a lot of turnovers at UCLA. But the last time that an Oregon quarterback, had some issues, needed to go somewhere, or kind of the rehabilitation in some ways, they go and get a transfer. But he sits because he knows where he wants to be. And Joe, we got to see there too. But I agree wholeheartedly with where you're at and what you're saying. They have recruited so well from a high school level. They've recruited so well from a transfer portal level. Basically, what you're wrapping up in a bow here is how well have they developed. We've seen Oregon recruit at a high level. We have not seen them get over that hump yet, Joe. I mean, they get to the playoffs. They're the number 1 seed. The first game of the playoffs, they get absolutely bounced, right? They got absolutely whooped down, okay? When does Oregon take that next step? Now, you're going through a reload or a rebuild, regardless of what happens. And there's a lot of unknowns here. I agree that I think Will Stein can get a lot out of Dante Moore. I'm still cautious because the last time I saw him, he had 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, right? There were a lot of bad decisions that were being made. So we'll see. But you're right. They have recruited so well along both lines of scrimmage, especially at DB. When does all this start manifesting itself? And they've spent the money to go out there and do it. I think the Big Ten is wide open. I think it's wide open.
I don't mean to cut you off, but this is my biggest thing where I had a lot of skepticism when we talked about Penn State. I think that there is more of a chance that Penn State falters and that somebody else wins the Big Ten than Penn State feels like they're in this.
Well, and that's position. Just a normal year then, right? I mean, then you're just having a normal year. But Joe, here's the problem with that though. Let's say they do. Okay, they do. They go 10-2. They make a playoff again. It is what it is. That means we got a lot of answers with Ohio State. That means we got a lot of answers with Oregon. I mean, we then know that Dante Moore paid off, that they developed at a high level, that these DBs and young wide receivers came in and you're like, I mean, wait a minute, that's 3 5-stars, all that you're replacing here. Okay. Until then, though, until you have those answers, I mean, like, I can make an argument